Okay, so for this tutorial, I'm going to combine lessons 2 and 3 just because they're very similar as far as what I show the kids. And so we'll start with lesson 2. For lesson 2, I'm going to use 2 sheets. The first sheet is going to be this grid paper. Now, I will sometimes give each pair of students 2 sheets of grid paper, and then they can put them next to each other depending on how they're going to plan out their level. And in a little bit, I'm going to show you exactly what I show the kids or give them a preview of when it comes to using Bloxels. And this will make a lot more sense. And then I'll also show you a sample page um, that I made that the students might end up making something similar to this. The second page I use is this one right here. This kind of will remind the students of what each block represents while they're planning out their level on the grid paper. So for lesson 2, what I normally do is I just have them mainly work on with the grid paper and plan out their level. But what I will do also is I'll show them just what they're going to be doing in lesson 3. That way they have a better understanding of what they're doing when it comes to the planning part. So the next time in lesson 3, they're going to go to Game Builder and they're going to go to Create New Game. They're going to go to Platformer. And so I just show them this just so they can see it. I might lay out some blocks so they see what's going to happen the next time. And like I said, this will give them a good idea of what they're going to be doing in their planning phase. And then lastly, what I'll do is I will also show them a sample of what their end product might be for the planning part. And so this is one I made, but if you're going to be doing this with your students, I encourage you to make one yourself and just show them. And if you have them working in pairs, they can, use 2 sheets and just line them up next to each other if they want to make the level even bigger. Okay, so now moving on to lesson 3. Lesson 3, I pretty much might revisit this area, but what I want to make sure to let you know that something you should do when you do lesson 3 is make sure they change the title of the game, and then also make sure that they come over here to change their hero. This is the only one that they're going to change or configure for lesson 3, just because when they start laying out the power up blocks, it will be whatever the hero is at that moment. So, like, let's say I go right now and I change my hero to what I originally wanted. When I go later on in lesson 4, and if it's for second and third, it might be like lesson 4 broken up into 2 lessons. But when I go to configure them, it's going to still have that original hero that I had before I changed it, right? And so if they end up laying out a bunch, if they have not changed their hero and they end up putting all their power ups in their level that they're going to want, they're going to end up having to configure and go back and change each one of them to their hero. If so, I hope that makes sense. But basically, you want to make sure that for lesson 3, when they start, they change the name of their game. I'm just going to put this because that's all I can think of right now. And then they change it their hero. After you have them do that, then what I normally do is I try to stress for them to use their planning page and try to match up their planning page. What I also might do is I will show them how big the level actually is. And since more than likely on their planning page, they started in the bottom left area, I will go back here and I will end up erasing everything that they have. It wouldn't be as much as what I had now. It would just be that bottom level that usually shows up when you open up a new game. And then I will click on this and drag my character to the bottom area. That way, when they start making their level, they can start making it, you know, identical or as much as possible to their planned out page. Now, something else that's going to end up happening, which is really good in the third lesson, is that after they start to put their after they start to fill out the blocks of depending on how they planned out their level, they can consistently test it out and maybe make changes if things aren't working out. And so, you know, at any moment, I always encourage them to test out so far what their level, you know, is going to look like. You know, that the reason that one, you know, died right away is because I have them set, and they can always, you know, even though they have a certain, you know, my hero settings was, I can always go back in there and change it, and they can change. You know, later on, you'll notice that they can make different changes as they're making the video game. But for lesson 3, I do just have them. Let me erase that. I do just make sure that they stick with the block mode. And so sometimes even when they finish, I just kind of, depending on how much class time you have for lesson 3, I end up just having them add more blocks to their level. You will notice, like, even if I'm, you know, even if I took up the whole grid paper, it's only going to go about up to this area right here. And so you have, so, you know, you have so much space to add more to their level. And so that's it for lesson 3. In lesson 4, for the older kids, I will cover these two. This is like the acid pack tab, and then this is the configure tab. We will get into those for the older kids. For the younger kids, I kind of break the next lesson up into 2 separate lessons where we handle the acid pack tab one class, and then we handle the configure tab the next class.